What's the fastest you've watched someone's entire cover-up fall apart in a single room? I am a construction foreman, 20 years on job sites, the last 4 running crews for Whitfield Development. 3 weeks ago, a support brace failed on the 4th floor of a site we were finishing, right as a family was touring the finished units below with a sales agent. A steel beam swung loose without warning. Their son, 6 years old, was standing directly under it. I was the closest person on that floor. I got to him before it hit the ground. Knocked him clear, took the edge of it across my shoulder instead. He was fine. I wasn't, not entirely, but I could still stand, and that was all that mattered to me in that moment. Within an hour, Whitfield's site manager, a man named Curtis, pulled me into the trailer. "We have a problem," he said. "Preliminary review says the brace failure traces back to a modification on your crew's install sheet from Tuesday." I told him that was wrong. I signed off on every brace install myself, and Tuesday's sheet matched spec exactly, down to the torque numbers. "That's not what the paperwork says now?" Curtis said, sliding a printed sheet across the desk. The date was right. The signature was close enough to pass a glance. It wasn't mine, and I told him so. 2 days later, I was suspended pending an insurance investigation, and Whitfield's legal team had already drafted a statement naming me for gross negligence. Time to go out the same week the company was closing a major investment round. A negligence claim against a subcontractor is cheap. A liability claim against the developer weeks before investors sign is not. I understood exactly what I was being used for. "The site cameras on floor 4 went down for maintenance that morning," Curtis told the insurance adjuster, with a completely straight face. "Unfortunate timing, all things considered." I knew that wasn't true because I'd checked the panel myself before my shift started. Every camera was live and recording. My daughter Priya does IT support part-time, including for a security contractor that had installed the site's camera system before Whitfield switched providers halfway through the project. The old contractor's cloud backup was still running quietly in the background because nobody had ever formally closed the account after the switch. She found 3 days of footage nobody in the company knew still existed. The formal hearing was in a conference room at Whitfield's downtown office, not a courtroom, but it might as well have been one. Curtis stood at the front, walking the insurance panel through the falsified install sheet, calling it definitive proof. "Before you finalize that," Priya said, standing up from the back of the room, "you should probably see this first. This is a professional hearing," the panel chair said. "Not really appropriate for a guest to interrupt." "I'm not interrupting," she said. "I'm the reason there's still footage of what actually happened that morning." She played it. Floor 4 that morning. Not my crew, not a brace failure from a modified install sheet. A delivery truck backing into a support column 2 floors down, the impact traveling up through the frame, exactly 9 minutes before the beam came loose. Driven by Whitfield's owner's own son, doing an unauthorized supply run he wasn't cleared to make in the first place. The room went silent in the particular way a room goes silent when a story everyone already believed stops holding together. Curtis's face didn't move, but the panel chairs did. "Where did this footage come from?" she asked. "The site cameras were reported down that morning." "The site cameras were fine," Priya said. "The backup from the old contractor caught it independently. Nobody remembered to shut that account down after the switch." Whitfield's own compliance officer, sitting near the back of the room, was already on his phone before the meeting even ended. The negligence claim against me was dropped within the week. Whitfield's insurer opened a new investigation, this time into the falsified paperwork and who had directed it to be changed. I got my job back, and a formal written apology I never asked for and honestly didn't need. What I needed was simpler. I needed my daughter to see that doing the right thing quietly, even when nobody's watching, is still worth something in the end. She got to watch that lesson prove itself, in real time, in a room full of people who had already decided I was guilty before she stood up. I still work that site. I still do my job the same way I always have. The only difference now is that nobody in that building looks at my paperwork twice without checking it against the source themselves first.